It's time for the Billy Flint Experience.
Thank you so much for joining me for another fabulous Billy Flint Experience. This is the Billy Flint Podcast, and I am Billy Flint. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that everyone is doing wonderful on a Tuesday, wherever you are in the world. You're coming live here in Germany. As I said, I hope everyone is doing well, staying safe and healthy during these crazy, crazy times. We're going to get into the subject in a second, but as I always do this time, of course, as I always say, if you got 'em, light 'em. As I said before, I am an activist, advocate. Yes, I am an advocate of cannabis. It frees your mind. Okay, we're going to get right into the subject of the night, which is very, very interesting. Excuse me. It's very, very interesting that I came across this article today earlier, and it really struck me rather odd, being that we are coming up on the 20th year remembering of September 11th, 9/11, by some of us who go by the short term. It's interesting because we have one of the very talented international talented director and producer and writer, Spike Lee, who has been promoting his new movie, which is coming out later on. I think is it this month? Or I don't know if it's out now. Maybe it's out now. But his new movie, or not movie, it's more of a documentary. Name of it is called NYC Epic Center 9/11/2021 and a half. And I guess it's documenting both. It's kind of two-part documentary. It's documenting the strength of New York and how New Yorkers bounce back from every natural disaster or unnatural disaster. But it's more or less documenting the spirit of New York and the strength of New Yorkers in particular. Now, of course, I'm a fan like everybody else. I support Spike Lee's movies. But one thing that struck me odd as I was looking at the trailer and I started reading some of the things that he was saying about what's in this particular documentary, and one thing that stuck out really stuck out is when he was suggesting that the events that happened in September 11th, 2001, he was saying that it's a conspiracy. And like I said, it stuck out because I was like, wow, I didn't know he thought that. I really didn't. I really didn't think that was something in his mind. Being that he lived in New York and, he has this worldly acclaim, being one of the best directors, and he's praised worldwide. But again, he was explaining based on some of the evidence that took place that day, that the jets, everybody knows the jet planes hit the building, and from what the reports from the 911 reports, they were saying that because of the jet fuel and the heat of the jet fuel melted the steel and the buildings collapsed. Okay, everybody knows that. But what Spike Lee was saying, that he basically got on the bandwagon with other conspiracy theorists, and based on engineers and scientific formulas and results, and how they came up with the answer that, well, the jet fuel doesn't burn as hot to melt steel structures that will cause a building to collapse. Okay, whatever side you're on, that's not my argument. I don't get into conspiracy theories. So you can believe what you want to believe, but what I found odd, again, based on this documentary that he just completed, that is a 2-part. One is about the epidemic of the virus, COVID virus, and how New York was the epicenter of this dreadful disease back in the early 2000s. Sorry, back in 2000, because it's 2001 now. But back earlier of last year in 2000, how New York became the epicenter of the spread of the virus. And that's why I said that his documentary is 2-part. Excuse me. But again, I think it contradicts itself, because again, I'm gonna play so you can hear his own voice. Spike Lee I'm talking about. But as I was digging deeper on YouTube, I came across he was on a talk show back in 2007 on was Bill Maher. He was on his TV show. It's very interesting. Okay, now listen to this. This is going to be very, very interesting. I want you to listen to this.
And this past Saturday, Louis Farrakhan did a kind of a reunion of the Million Man March. I don't think we got 1 million people this time. But he was saying last Saturday in Washington that he thinks that the federal government, there was a conspiracy to actually blow up those levees so that they would flood the poor black districts in New Orleans. I have to tell you, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe it. But when you see some of the things that have gone on in this country...
Exactly. It's not far-fetched. And also, I like to say, it's not necessarily blow it up, but the residents of that ward, they believe that there was a Hurricane Betsy in '65. They felt the same thing happen, where a choice had to be made. One neighborhood, we got to save one neighborhood and flood another neighborhood. Look, if we're in L.A.
No, that's been done before.
If we're in L.A. and there's an emergency situation, we call from Beverly Hills, we call from Compton. Which one are the cops coming to first?
Right. But that's different than proactively blowing up a levee to flood one neighborhood. I'm not saying it's not possible.
But that would would require a conspiracy. I mean, look, we can all understand. Anybody with any knowledge of history can understand why a lot of people feel this way, that that's a reasonable theory. But it would also require a conspiracy at 3 levels of government, that would the local, the state, and the federal. It would require no white
Presidents have been assassinated. So why is that so far-fetched?
Because it would require no white person in the government to have a moral compass. It would require no black person to have a spine. And I think that that's a very hard case to make.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that election in 2000 was fair? You don't think that was rigged?
It's not a question of being fair. It's a
question. You don't think that was rigged? If they could rig an election, they could do anything.
But you know how it was rigged. Saying. I was in New Orleans right after the hurricane in the 9th Ward. And while I didn't hear anybody say the levee was blown up by the federal government, I did interview a bunch of people who were stuck there who said they believed this was part of a conspiracy to rid New Orleans of black people. They honestly believed that. I didn't argue with them.
Right.
I just listened to what they said, and I felt bad for them. So as you sit here, who is someone who is rich and has options, and are watched by people who are poor and have no options, it seems to me it's your responsibility, your obligation to tell them the truth. And you know the truth, which is the federal government did not blow up those levees. So don't feed the paranoia and the craziness.
How is that feeding the paranoia?
Because you're saying it's entirely possible. When you know perfectly well it's not entirely possible.
How is it not possible?
The federal government blew up the levees. A, there's zero evidence. B, it's difficult to blow up a levee. C, there were news cameras all around. Nobody saw it. I mean, let's be real here.
Because nobody saw it. Because nobody saw it means it couldn't have happened?
It's okay. I could say.
Let me ask a question.
Okay.
With the history of this country, you ever heard of the Tuskegee experiment?
Look, I'm not going to sit here for your history lesson. I want to know what. Of course, I've heard of the Tuskegee experiment.
Let's explain to the audience what the Tuskegee experiment was.
Okay, now that particular interview, well, not interview, but he was on Bill Maher show back in 2007, and they were talking about the Katrina hurricane, or Hurricane Katrina, that hit New Orleans and destroyed like Baton Rouge, New Orleans, I'm trying to think some other cities that Biloxi, and a few more around the coast. But anyways, what he was talking about, Spike Lee was basically saying that he believes that the government blew up those levees that flooded Louisiana. I mean, not Louisiana, but that flooded the cities, New Orleans and Biloxi. Well, the levees were in New Orleans. So basically he was saying that he believed that the government blew up the levees and flooded the city. And that was his thought back in 2007. Okay, and then before that, during September 11th, he believed that, again, that there's an inside job based on how the buildings fell. Now, getting to the point, the reason that I said that this documentary is very interesting, because, again, it's 2-part. It's talking about the 9/11, but then again, it's talking about also the COVID outbreak and the pandemic that started last year. And again, as I started digging deep, I came up with on his Instagram page, he's talking about the vaccine. Now, I'm not into arguing whether you should take the vaccine or you shouldn't take the vaccine. I think it's just basically just leaving it up to the individual to do their own research. What really gets to me is the celebrities that come on to the scene, and it seems as though they are paid to promote the vaccine. And it's becoming a situation where it's not even about individual choice. It's more or less being forced. And Spike Lee, just like a few other entertainers, was siding with getting the vaccine or trying to promote it, in particularly in the black community, for people to go out and get vaccinated. And I know earlier part of this year, in February 2001, I am kind of like on his page on Instagram because, again, I like his movies. I like his artistry. I have respect for his art. But what I didn't understand is how he was promoting this, how he was like behind this push on getting everyone in New York to get the vaccine. Right down to the point to where he was even filming. He had it filmed of him and his family getting the vaccine. And he put that on Instagram. Thought that was very interesting. Then a couple of weeks later, or not maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months later, he's promoting the New York Knicks playoff. and that's when it really, that's what really hit me earlier today, which made me want to come on tonight to do this podcast. Because it's like he's flip-flopping. It's like on one side he's a conspiracy theorist, and on the other side he's not. But on the side that he's not, it seems like he's getting a bag. And that's fine. Get a bag. Get your money. Everybody is trying to get a bag. Everybody's trying to get money. Hey, America's a capitalist society. Okay, why not? I just find that very peculiar. Personally, I find it very peculiar. So he's promoting the vaccine, and sure enough, during the playoffs, where is this individual? He's on the floor seats in front of the cameras, doing his thing. And it seems as though maybe, I don't know, maybe the New York Knicks organization, being that he's the front man of all their games, he's got the floor seats, he's out there acting, acting the way celebrities do, I don't know. But he's in front of the camera, he's putting on a show. So maybe the organization said, hey, if you can get people to get this vaccine so we can get these people back into this arena so we can start making money. And that's what it seemed like what happened. So I find it very, very interesting. On one end, like I said, he's a conspiracy theorist. But on the other end, he's like, okay, I'm here to try to help everyone. Right down to where he not only did that, but he was a spokesperson for Uber. A spokesperson for Uber, the car company, taxi cab company, whatever, to go out and give people free rides if they need to go down to the hospital or the clinic or whatever to get the poke. Again, I get it. There's nothing wrong with it. But choose a side. It's either you're going to be a conspiracy theorist and stick with it, or you're not. I mean, hey, I don't know. Maybe it's me. But I would definitely say that Spike Lee is a stooge. Spike Lee, come down and get your reward. I'm telling you. And it's always the celebrities. Always. But anyways, that's my thought behind this. And once again, thank you so much for joining me on this particular podcast. Look forward to being with you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night or day. Look forward to being with you again. Be safe, stay safe, and take care.